right, Daily Ticker time to kick off hour number 3. Brought to you, as always, by Pelican Brewing. Warm up with bold flavor and get into the holiday spirit. Enjoy by the fire or maybe even under the mistletoe. Their Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale is back. And we are thrilled, pumped, excited, whatever adjective you would like to use, whatever descriptor you would choose, to talk to our next friend, the Commissioner of College Football, Josh Pate, at Josh Pate CFB on Twitter. Go give him a follow. His show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, live on YouTube. Check the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. He just crossed over 500,000
congratulations,
subscribers live on the show. The ticker idea was phenomenal, watching the numbers count up throughout the show. And, man, our guy's been everywhere. He's on Get Up on Friday. He's on an alt cast at the SEC title game on Saturday.
Nobody more proud than Trisha Pate.
Dude, she's all about it. She's thrilled for her son. Josh Pate, we are excited to yell about college football with you. Are you excited to yell about the rankings, and how in the world did the committee do this with Notre Dame and Miami?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was told by Jason that we were just going to mainly break down James Madison depth chart today. Are we not doing that?
How do you feel about the 2 deep at linebacker for James Madison? Is that something Dan Lanning should be concerned about?
Real heady, plucky, gritty, blue-collar kid. And I don't even know which one we're talking about, but yes, just copy-paste across the board.
Yeah, a lot of gym rats on that team.
Look, sometimes the world hands you a situation where your team goes undefeated and then has to play the best team in the sport and beat them a second time in the playoff. And then sometimes the world hands you James Madison in a home playoff game at 4:30. And I prefer to live in this world. Let me ask you this. So, we all love yelling about this stuff, and it's funny to get outraged and argue. Is there a way to fix this with the 2 G6 teams? Is that going to be we saw the reaction last year, the 4 buys, and they changed that one offseason later. Is there a fix in the works coming this offseason?
Well, look, I mean, it's pretty much law, or it's a violation of antitrust law, rather, if you don't have inclusion for the G5. Now, we're never getting rid of inclusion, or I say never. In this current structure, we're not getting rid of inclusion for the G5. However, I don't think it's illegal to be saying only one of you are getting in.
Yeah.
So, and I may be wrong about that, but I would go the step that many have suggested, and that is to require a minimum baseline ranking before you can ever have inclusion in the playoff. I wouldn't mind that applying across the board, by the way, but that would have especially got us free and clear here. Also, though, if you think about it, there's a way to sort of process your way around all this. Let's just say we can't make that kind of rule. Let's just say you can't put any parameters on excluding G5 teams that you wouldn't put on excluding anyone else. All right, well, if you'll just fix your conference tiebreakers, we'll be good. Because if your conference tiebreakers just go by, the playoff rankings and nothing more, Miami is in the ACC title game. They body bag whoever they play, and they're the ACC representative, and we're not even having to have a discussion about how your conference champ isn't in the top 30 or top 35. So, look, you don't technically have to change your wording. The conferences just have to, wake up on the right side of the bed one morning and take care of their own business.
Yeah. I'm curious what you make if we were to assume, and I think we're all on a trust tree here, Oregon is going to take care of James Madison. If we were to jump ahead a little bit, and I know we'll ask this of you when you're on the show the week of, but an early peekaboo of Oregon, Texas Tech, your kind of general feelings. Texas Tech's been very impressive defensively. Just your thoughts of Oregon, Texas Tech potentially on the horizon.
Wow, the stones on this guy. Okay, well, let's look past James Madison, and we do know Texas Tech will be there at least. So it all comes down to whether Oregon can maintain offensive balance against that defensive front. That is, personnel-wise, I mean, I know that not a lot of people maybe up there have just been glued to Texas Tech all year, and you have this propensity to think that because a team came out of the Big 12, it's a Big 12 team. This is not your prototypical Big 12 team. It is very, very much from a personnel standpoint what you would expect a high-level Big 10 or high-level SEC team to possess, because that's where they went and got those guys out of the portal to begin with, and they can really, really wreck you. They can make things difficult, and, I think when you go back on Oregon's season this year, you could look at Iowa. Iowa made life difficult on them up front. Penn State gave them trouble. Indiana gave them a lot of trouble. 7 of the 20 points Oregon scored in that game were non-offensive. So it's not like they haven't met those challenges this year. They've had mixed results, but you also have to ask yourself, with Oregon and a number of these teams, they will have been off for 3 weeks. So you're hoping to do what Ohio State did last year and click at the right time. If they do look like that, and I halfway believe they will, they'll be the best version of themselves, and they're getting those guys back healthy, maybe, possibly, then, maybe we see their best version. Maybe we see Oregon play at a level that they hadn't played at all year.
We spent a lot of time last week talking about the idea, do these conference championships game matter anymore, and how do we revamp the weekend? And then Indiana played, and I'm like, yeah, sure, it don't matter to them. They haven't won an outright Big Ten title since 1945. I'm curious to ask you, what was the biggest eye-opener from this weekend for you? Was it Ohio State getting, they're taking their first L of the year? They haven't really played the most murderous row of a schedule. Texas, right? Last time, talent-wise, somebody could really go toe-to-toe with them. The opposite, Indiana winning, Georgia exercising the demons, if you will, of Alabama leaking oil. What was the biggest takeaway from the weekend for you?
Yeah, well, the Alabama leaking oil thing was magnified, and they're going to tell you it's because of how many guys they're missing, which maybe that's true. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, we will get to test that theory because they're going to play in a little under 2 weeks. So I think that stood out. I think it absolutely stood out that Ohio State lost. We talked on the show last night about how Ohio State did not play that different a game than we've seen them play half a dozen times this year. They played a really compressed game, sort of a lethargic game, if you want to call it that. The only difference is they did it against a premier opponent who could limit their scoring opportunities and eliminated their scoring opportunities. And so, we counted last night. They had a couple of really lengthy drives when they were down that produced a combined 0 points. I just don't know that any of us would have looked at that game Friday, 24 hours away, and been told Indiana's going to hang 13 and they're going to win. If anyone would have told us that, we would have laughed. And yet that is exactly what happened. So I don't know. The urgency wasn't really on that game. That's kind of depressing to watch the ending of the Big Ten championship game. Ryan Day kind of walked across the field, smiled a little bit, shook Kurt Cignetti's hand, and, it was like, oh, well. It's like watching an NFL team lose. Oh, well, we'll get them next week. That's kind of what conference championships have become if you've bought yourself some wiggle room.
That's interesting. I kind of felt like that mattered a lot to Indiana, and I think Ohio State would want to win a Big Ten title, but I guess when you get to the end of it and you do lose, it's not as devastating knowing you're still going to be in the top 4 of the playoff. We didn't get you last week. You're super busy. Mr. Popular over here having to call games on the sideline, be on ESPN in the studio, jet living, jet flying, hosting shows at auditoriums. I'm curious your thoughts on Jamarcus Shepard. Oregon State made that official. He coached, obviously, on the Bama staff. He was at the SEC title game.
One of the first videos that surfaced from Beaver fans was our guy Pate dapping him up on the sideline of the Iron Bowl. When Alabama fans were shouting him out, he walked over and dapped Pate up.
We know that you have a relationship. Oregon State fans love hearing you. We don't talk a lot of Oregon State with you for obvious reasons, but they got a guy you're familiar with. What can you tell us about Jamarcus Shepard and the kind of coach you think he's going to be in Corvallis, especially coming off the heels of 2 G5 teams making the playoff? Maybe there's a window here for Oregon State fan to feel a lot better about their lot in life.
I always love how anytime, and it's about once or twice a year, you mention Oregon State to me, you always pull the keys out of your pocket and just dig it into their ribs, and you say something like, we don't talk Oregon State a lot for obvious reasons, and then you just continue on with the sentence. We don't even get to harp on it or dwell on it, but I do get your point. Jamarcus Shepard's awesome. He's a guy that I don't believe a lot of people will be familiar with. Once you hear, he's the kind of guy where, like, you hear his first press conference and you're like, whoa, who is that? Kind of like a little bit more toned down, understandable version of Ed Orgeron. When people first heard Ed Orgeron, they're like, I just feel like a hurricane hit my ears. Jamarcus Shepard's kind of like that. Very, very infectious, an incredible locker room presence, an incredible culture presence for them at Alabama. I talked to DeBoer about him, and DeBoer was very adamant that when he put his staff together, you've got to put together a complementary staff. You know what you possess as the head coach. You know what characteristics you have. Jamarcus Shepard was the perfect counter to that, because DeBoer's not going to be the one screaming in a megaphone all the time. Jamarcus Shepard has absolutely, positively no problem with that, but guys will go over a cliff for him. He's got a couple of staffers that he's bringing up there from Alabama that I like a lot. Some of them will be on the field. Some of them won't be on the field. I'll just be interested to kind of watch him take his shot at being a head coach. It's a heavy lift at Oregon State. We all know that. But how much immediate impact is it obvious he has? kind of like it's a very radical example, but Kurt Signetti, the moment he walked into Indiana, it was like someone just lit a bonfire with gasoline. So on a scale of 0 to Signetti, where does Jamarcus Shepard land would be my question.
I hope in his first basketball game press conference, Oregon, you suck. Washington, you suck. Pull the Kurt Signetti card. Josh Pate is our guest. Check out his show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, live on YouTube. Over 500,000 subscribers. He is the future commissioner of college football, and he has our full and total support. And he's kind enough to join the show every week this week on a Monday because things got wonky a little bit last week. Let me ask you this. I got a buddy who was on the Iowa State staff with Matt Campbell, and then he sent me a text this weekend saying, "We are Capital." And I thought,
he's going.
No. Well, it made me throw up in my mouth a little bit, knowing that he grew up a Duck fan, and this is going to be weird and unique. But he's excited for the opportunity. How much pressure does Josh Pate feel on the performance level of Matt Campbell at Penn State?
This is totally riding on me right now. I mean, my name is on the line.
It's a big
based
deal
on how he performs. I kid you not. We are sitting in the parking lot of Beaver Stadium right now where he's about to do his press conference. And I'm going to kind of go in there, and I plan on just, doing the two fingers at your eyes, and then you take the one index finger and you point at him as if to say, I'm watching you. And you don't mean it to be mean. You need to understand, hey, I vouched for you. We lobbied for you. Do not embarrass me. Do not embarrass me. Yeah. On all seriousness, not that wasn't serious, but in all seriousness, you guys know because you had me on the show when they fired Franklin, and I told you Matt Campbell's the guy I'd go after. And for a million reasons, I thought he was the guy they always should have targeted. Whatever they did is whatever they did. Quite frankly, I would love to get to the bottom of the intricacies of this search while we're up here today. But nonetheless, I think they hired the right guy. It sucks that the recruiting class had to implode in on itself like a dying star in the process of them going all the way around the world to find treasure in their own backyard. Stop me when you're done hearing the metaphors, by the way, because I've got a lot of them. So I think that the staff he brings over here, if you're talking about pressure, I don't doubt Matt being able to do it at a high level. He's going to have a lot of guys that he's promoted from within that they're going to take from Ames over here to State College, and they're taking them into the Big Ten. I'm kind of excited to watch how those guys perform on this stage because I know, Matt Campbell's established. In my mind, he is. Some of these guys are, from a staffing perspective, they're really going to get a chance to show what they're made of on this kind of stage.
Like Notre Dame controversy was really loud. I said earlier, it's not that teams don't want to play bowl games. I think Kansas State was one of the first teams to opt out of playing in a bowl before the Notre Dame announcement. I was more just surprised that it was Marcus Freeman as a coach. The way he is as a leader, I think he's really good. I was surprised he rolled with it. I really thought he'd be somebody that would say, yeah, you know what, it's a tough lot in life. Let's go prove to everybody and beat BYU. But I also understand the landscape of bowl games. How close are we to this thing just maybe blowing up, or what's your read on bowl games sans that? We kind of viewed Notre Dame saying no to the Pop-Tart, similar to Florida State fan not eating the dog crap. And so I'm just curious how surprised you were Notre Dame didn't want to play BYU.
I love that you went down that road there.
Yeah.
What would you say? About 5% of the listening audience max got the reference.
Doesn't matter.
We don't care.
You got it.
We're going to drop it anyway.
Yep. It's for you.
I think I was very surprised, man. I saw a lot of these other schools opt out, but like Iowa State, for example, lost their coach, and they got all kinds of disarray there, and they've got a new staff coming in, and I guess I at least understood them opting out. This is just flat out a team not getting its way in what was a very subjective debate at the end, no matter which side you land on, very subjective. And they didn't get their way, and they just said, we're taking our ball and going home. We're not going to play in the bowl game. Look, to each his own, okay? But I question, what foundation have you built your program on if it's that easy to say that? And that's me saying that, not even knowing what went into the decision. For all I know, Marcus Freeman was told you're not going to play in a bowl game. I don't know what happened, but I just wonder if you demand overcoming adversity, resilience, competitive character, all that, and then your first instinct when you don't get your way is to say, I quit. I kind of question that.
Yeah, I'm with you there completely. We appreciate the time, man. Our guy is blowing up in the biggest way possible, all over the place. It was so fun watching the all-cast, that SEC title game. Wasn't the most entertaining game from a score perspective, but super entertaining to watch you guys on the sideline. The show last night was, or I should say yesterday afternoon, was great. Go subscribe to the show, Josh Pate's College Football Show. Give him a follow on Twitter, at Josh Pate CFB. Tell Matt Campbell to be thankful Oregon is not on the schedule next year after the leaked Pat Kraft audio, because you know that was going to be bulletin board material for our guy Dan Lanning. Enjoy the time in Penn State, and hopefully we can catch up again soon, buddy. Always good to chat with you.
I appreciate it, guys.
There you go. Josh Pate, the commissioner of college football. Talking all things college football.
I was wondering what he was going to say to the Notre Dame thing, and it's, I get it. There's all kind of range of emotions. We don't know if the AD directed it, or we don't know the players universally, like, we will refuse to play in this, and Freeman has no choice at that point, right? It's a player's era, but I'll go back. I think I'm a little surprised he agreed with me, but it's the same feeling. I just would have thought a Marcus Freeman program would have been like, cool, we didn't make it. We're going to show you guys how stupid you are. Here's a chance to go blow out or beat up on a BYU team, and maybe they don't. Maybe they lose, but I guess I'm just surprised that he is the coach of that program. And again, if we get new information, we'll correct that record. But
sure,
I was a little surprised by it, but I also know that bowl games are in a weird way dying.
Yeah, I think there's a team that is the perfect example of this, and it might be the team that ends up winning the national title. They were my preseason pick to do it. Georgia had won back-to-back national championships. They had won 29 consecutive games. They went undefeated in the regular season, lost a heartbreaking game to Alabama in the SEC title to end their 29-game winning streak. That booted them from the 14 playoff. That was that debate about Florida State or Alabama, where Georgia was there like, wait a minute, we went undefeated and then had to play in a conference title game and lost to Alabama. Our resume was great. They had an argument to be in that year as well. And all they did was go play Florida State in the Orange Bowl and beat them by 60 points. And so there's a testament to culture there, that how you do everything is how you do everything, or how you do whatever the saying is.
Right.
And now Georgia's here back, and they haven't gone anywhere, and it's just a testament to what they're about and what they do.
This just came across the wire about 30 minutes ago, and I coincidentally just saw this. This is from, what's the Notre Dame AD's last name?
Bavakwa.
Bavakwa. He said, quote, on the ACC, we were mystified by the actions of the conference to attack their biggest business partner in football and member conference in 24 sports. They have done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame.
Go join a conference, man. Then go join the Big Ten. Go be a part of the Big Ten then.
I think that's where this is all shifting to, is where they're probably going to they will make the playoff next year because their schedule's cake, and they got that guarantee. I do think there's a contingent that already existed, and I think is building, where it's like, and I heard, I think it was Boomer Esiason. I might have been the one to say this.
Boomer?
But, what is to stop these conferences from just saying, we're not playing you?
Yeah.
And then what's your resume?
Right.
I understand.
If they would have gotten in over Miami, that would have been the response for a lot of people.
Well, sure. And
what's the point of playing you if we beat you and then you still get into the playoff?
Yeah, 100%. And they're never going to go to a conference unless something happens where these other conferences literally band together and say, nope, you're canceled. We're not on your schedule anymore.
Right.
And until that happens, I just will ever refuse to believe they're joining a conference. But I think there's a big contingent that existed and is building by the day, that it's just like, stop acting like you should play by literally every set of your own rules here, and you're taking your ball and you're going home and you're just yelling at everybody because you lost.
This is the problem of the committee, too, to set this up, to have them ahead of Miami all those weeks. It should have just been ranked the way it should have been ranked, and then maybe it's not quite as controversial.
Sure.
And any Notre Dame fan who's making the argument we should have been in, as long as you acknowledge I'm biased and I'm a Notre Dame fan, then it's fine. I would pull for my team to make it in that situation, too. But head-to-head is what ultimately matters when the resumes are the same.